Welcome to a very short explanation of my review strategy 3, pulling apart one exam question. I use this strategy to anticipate the thinking for the application-focused questions, especially the case study questions. So I'll be looking here at a case study question. Spoiler alert, since this is one of the questions on the ATD practice exam, shows the answers to one of the parts of the exam question, so be aware of that. I retook the practice exam to make sure that I was working from the correct answers, and then I pulled apart those answers into parts. And what I really wanted to be able to do was to be able to see how the answers were clear statements of the concepts applied correctly, so those were the correct answers, or incorrectly, and those were the wrong answers, so that I wasn't guessing at it. To help me be able to pull it apart, I put it into Mind Manager, so I just showed you that as the tool, and I imported them for my practice. And as a practice strategy, you can see that I marked my level of certainty there. It's circled, so you can see I was not quite sure on a couple, but then I chose as correct answers all of those that are marked as a 1. And they were indeed correct. But since I wasn't quite sure, I still wanted to understand how they were built to be the correct application. Looking at the 4 that were correct, they all have very similar constructions. So the question is, which goals should the professional select that best represent the needs of the organization? And all 4 that were correct had some part that related to the organization, and then some part that was the TD action or activity. So support lean manufacturing strategies through some kind of training or coaching, increase customer service satisfaction through some kind of training or coaching, reduce the amount of employee safety incidents through coaching and training and remediation. And then the last one is reverse, expand the coaching program to facilitate, and so on. In this step 2 of the question, the workforce notes was the new information given, and since we were looking at goals, TD goals, those should relate to the strategic goals, and I'll show these more in a bit, but what I want to focus on here is the concept that it seems to be getting at is that to develop the goals, the talent development goals, they should be tracking strategic objectives and be tied to specific measures. The first answer that was correct aligned with the support lean management strategy. So you can see down in the workforce notes it aligned there, and in the strategic goals it's aligned as well. You can pause or go back on any of these, but I will pretty quickly move forward through them since there are 4 of them. In this one, the customer surveys give us a specific measure in the workforce notes. And the strategic goal aligns right with that. Correct answer. The workforce notes told us that the safety incidents were above the desired threshold. The strategic goal is to reduce the safety violations. So one could say maybe you only need the workforce notes, but for me, applying the concept, it was the alignment that let me know that it was correct. The last one, expand the coaching program to facilitate employee motivation, engagement, and upward mobility. Workforce notes is we have these measures for employee turnover, and we want to invest in our employees through training and promotion. The last observation that I will make here is looking at 2 of the answers that were not correct, and you can see that I left up 2 that are correct for comparison. Since the question is about talent development goals, which I would see tying to that concept of executing talent development strategy, The two that are not correct identify things that are related to training, developing training modules, using new technology, but they aren't tied to measures and they aren't tied to the strategic objectives. And that's what I see as distinctly different to making them incorrect for applying talent development strategy and creating goals for the talent development professional. I will leave these notes up here just in case you want to look back and compare them, and this is where I will leave off.